Now I might need your help as we go through the video to try and identify some mystery philodendron plants, or at least confirm what we think they might be. So it's been my birthday this week and I've been to quite a few garden centres, and as you can see I've well and truly given in on my plant ban, or at least because it's been my birthday I've just treated myself. Some of these plants I found at very good prices as well, so some were what you might call rescue plants, some are ticked off the wish list, as well as finding quite an unusual plant that I wasn't aware of until I saw it and then had to buy it to add to the collection. So I'll show you that and see if you've seen it too, and then if you can, as we go through the video, do chip in the comments below and let me know what you think some of those mystery philodendrons are, as it'd be great to put some names on them. Now there are a couple of other plant varieties in the mix, so I'll touch on those first before we move on to the philodendrons. So this first one is an Aglaonema, and much like the philodendrons, this one came from a mix, so it didn't have the variety name on it, which is quite frustrating, but I've managed to hopefully identify it from some images. Now while you can get lots of white and green Aglaonemas, there are some telltale signs on this that I think have helped with the identity, as it's got white veining down the middle of the leaves, it's got a solid green border and lots of green patterning on the leaves, so I think for those reasons it's an Aglaonema spotted star white. There are some other similar ones like the white kiwi for example, but I think they have much more white on the leaves and even green down the vein. But do let me know if you think it is a different type of Aglaonema. I'd love to get any other ideas for what it could be, but I think it's the spotted star white. And this next one's a nice easy one. This one had the variety name on the label, but it's also one that I'm ticking off the wish list, so I knew what it was when I saw it. This is the Aglaonema cutlass, and as you can see it's got these wonderful lush green leaves, almost blade-like or ribbon-like leaves. So this one I bought because I found it at a really good price, $12.99. Usually these are about $14.99 upwards, for this as well as different varieties of Aglaonema, so that prompted me to buy this when I saw it for that price. So another Aglaonema added to the collection and ticked off the wish list. Now this next one really was to add something a little bit more unusual to the collection. So the shop that I was in had a fantastic display of begonias, some that were really vibrant with the reds and pinks and silvers, even blacks on the leaves, in some really unusual patterns and leaf shapes. So while this one isn't as vibrant as those, this one really stood out because it was just so unusual, the leaf shape and the pattern and the colours, but also the stems too. So if you've seen a Philodendron squamiferarum, you'll see that they have similar stems with all of these little soft spikes up the stem, but these come all the way up and across the leaves as well with that wonderful pattern on them. And I just thought this looked really lush with all of the leaves spilling out, and it even smells quite fresh as well, almost like cut grass. So I thought this would be a really nice one for on the desk, and just a reminder that spring is on the way. Officially in a few days it will be spring, but this was just another unusual plant find that I thought would add something a little bit different to the collection. Now this next one is more of a recovery plant or a replacement plant as opposed to a new one. So this is the Epipremnum Happy Leaf. I've already got one of these, but it could do with topping up. It looked a little bit sad, so I had bought this with the intention of potting them up together because I was really taken by the wonderful variegation and detailing on the leaves on this one. But then also when I was talking to the person in the shop, they had advised me that they'd all been mislabelled with the wrong price and they weren't intending on changing them. So I actually got this for £3 less than it should have been. So it should have been $9.99, but it was $6.99. So it was a great price and a wonderful plant to hopefully help the other one out and fill out the pot again with these wonderful leaves. And now we're on to the philodendrons, and this is the first one that I need your help with to identify or confirm its identity. So this one was almost a rescue plant. It wasn't reduced, but it does look a little bit worse for wear. They weren't in the best state, but it was very cheap anyway from a foliage mix. So it was only $4.99, and it was from a mix, although it does say it's a philodendron. It obviously didn't say what variety it was. So this one, when I saw the leaf, I initially thought maybe a Florida green, as it has that similar shaped leaf, although I thought it was maybe a little bit jaggedy to be one of those. Then when I started to do a little bit more research to try and identify it, another thing that I noticed was the stems are light green and smooth. So that almost ruled out the Florida green, and I think it might be a Philodendron pedatum instead now, because of the shape of the leaves similar to the Florida green, but the stems are green rather than sort of a red or brown colour. So I think maybe a Philodendron pedatum, but please do let me know if you think it could be something else in the comments below. Either way, with a little bit of TLC, not too fussed what variety it is. For $4.99, it's a new variety of philodendron that I didn't have in the collection before, so I'll wait and see what it develops into. Unless you can tell me in the comments below. And this next one is another one from that foliage mix, so this was only £4.99 as well, but this one really attracted me with the wonderful light glossy green leaves, as well as the way it was growing. Its growth habit reminded me of another philodendron in the collection, so I wanted to check it out, and I did have to rummage to try and find the best looking one. So although this one does have a little bit of damage on this leaf, as you can see all of the rest of them are really healthy, and it's got a new leaf on the way. So when I saw this, I thought it looked very similar to a Philodendron domesticum variegata, which I've already got in the collection, in terms of its leaf shape and the way it was growing, its upright growth habit with the way the leaves come off. But just obviously this one doesn't have any variegation, so this one is, I thought, maybe just a standard domesticum, but I'd love to know your thoughts if you think it could be anything else. So as you can see, the wonderful leaves there, almost that sort of three-lobed shape, but staying as one single leaf. And then some of the smaller leaves there and that upright growth on the stem. So let me know what you think it could be in the comments below. But again, whatever it turns out to be, it's not a bad deal for £4.99 for a new variety to the collection. And this next one is another one from the same retailer from a different foliage mix. So this one was slightly more expensive, only ever so slightly. It was £7.99 for this philodendron, and this one I think was a bit more easier to identify, or at least if I've got the name right. This one I think is a Philodendron Imperial Green, based on these quite large pointed solid green leaves and the upright growth habit of the plant. And I've had these before, or at least one of these before, in the collection, although it didn't make it unfortunately. So this one is a replacement, but I do believe it is the Philodendron Imperial Green, and for a plant of this size for £7.99, another plant bargain. Now this next one isn't a mystery plant, as I'm sure you'll recognise it. This is the Philodendron Ring of Fire. As you can see, those wonderful variegated saw-shaped leaves there. And this is quite a full plant. There's a lot going on in the pot. I think there might be more than one plant in the pot to make it that full. So it's in about a 14cm pot. And I bought this for two reasons. One was I used to have one, but unfortunately it wasn't very happy. I couldn't keep it alive, so I'm not sure what I did with it, that it didn't make it. So it was to replace that, but also the price. So this was a super plant bargain. So these used to be quite expensive, but much like many other plants, they went down in price. Smaller plants hit the market at about £7.99 to £9.99. Then plants of this size for the Ring of Fire, they were about £25, and you can still get them for about £25. But when I saw this for £9.99, I had to buy it for that price, just because it was so cheap, such a plant bargain, but also to replace that plant that didn't make it last time. So now I just need to keep this one happy and help it thrive, so I get lots more of these wonderful variegated leaves. So now we're back onto some mystery philodendrons. So I've got these and another one coming up, plus the special one to show you in just a moment. So these two are the same type of philodendron. They're both from philodendron mixes. So while we know the philodendrons, we don't know exactly what they are. And they were really cheap again, £3.99 for these little baby plants. Now these two are both the same. I decided to get two just because I couldn't decide between the two which was the best one. So I ended up getting two because this one had a bit more colour on the leaf. But as you'll see from the shape of the leaves, these ones are very, very rounded. I'll see if I can make the camera focus on them. Very, very round leaves on them. And this one has got a very, very dark colour, almost a similar colour to the black cardinal. It's almost like a chocolate brown with some red and purple in there as well, if that comes across on the camera. And these ones, after doing a bit of research, I think the telling sign is how round the leaves are, because a lot of other philodendron leaves tend to grow longer or pointier, or even have some shape to the edges. But because these ones are so round, the only ones that I could find that were this colour that had that same sort of round shape to them was the purple Congo. But again, if you know of any rounded leaf philodendrons that have that same sort of growth habit, do let me know in the comments below. But again, just like the others, for £3.99, little random philodendrons to add to the collection. And again, we'll see, they're only small at the moment, how they develop and what they become. Now this next one is from the same philodendron mix, but this one, as you can see, is quite a bit different in terms of the leaf shape and colour. So this one actually looks like a lot of small philodendrons with these long pointed leaves until the leaves start to develop and they start to show their shape of what they develop into, and also their colours as well as it matures a bit more. But as you can see, this one is a lot lighter. So this one has a lighter green, but also an orange or maybe even caramel or bronze colour going through that green too. And then the stem is almost a pink to orange colour as well. The leaves have a slight red outline on them from what I can see. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops, because that will really tell us what the variety is. But on initial investigation or initial thoughts of what this might be, I'm thinking it's possibly a Philodendron red sun, a very small one. I don't think it's a Philodendron Prince of Orange, as it was next to some of those in the collection and they were much lighter in colour. They were much more prominent with their orange, whereas this one, I think, because it's only $3.99 and from a mix, it's not going to be some super rare variety. It's going to be quite a common variety. So I think maybe a red sun, but I'd love to know your thoughts what it could be. The leaves do need a clean, but I will bring it closer to the camera just to see if it unfocuses from me and onto the leaf, so you can see the colour on the plant there and on the stem. So I've saved the best till last, or at least in my opinion. This one is the Philodendron that I found today. Now this one is one that, after doing some research, I have realised I have heard of it before, I've just not seen it before. And when I initially saw it, as you can see, it's quite a large plant. It really took my attention, or caught my attention, with the size of the leaves. So if I just put my arm next to this one, you can see just how big that leaf is. And I originally didn't think it was a Philodendron. I thought, because of the shape of the leaves and this texture, it's got a slight texture on the leaves, almost like a banana plant, like a Musa or a Enseti, or even a Strelitzia as well, a type of variety of that. So I thought maybe it was one of those. Also the stems of the plant as well made me think it was really unusual. I'll bring this closer to the camera so you can see it in just a moment in closer detail, but they're incredibly chunky. They're almost like a succulent in that they are very full of what I can only guess is some sort of gel or water or something like that. Because if you squeeze them, they're almost a little bit like if you've ever squeezed an aloe vera leaf, for example, with the gel inside. That's kind of what they feel like. And they look a little bit like, as odd as this sounds, almost like green bananas, but holding leaves at the end. So very strange visual to the plant, and very different to what I've seen other Philodendrons have, which usually have quite firm stems or even very short stems. But these ones, like I said, are on these little succulent petioles, whatever they are, with these incredibly vibrant, huge green leaves on them. So real wonderful, lush tropical vibes from this plant. And this was only just over £20, so I think a really good price for a plant of this size, and just how striking and unusual that it is. But if I bring it closer, let me show you the stems so that you can actually see what I was talking about when I tried to describe them as green bananas. So this is even, should I say, the Philodendron martianum or pacova, and it also has a common name, which is fat boy, which I think is where it gets the name from, these full petioles. So what do you think of this one? Now, I've not bought plants in a while, and I did open the floodgates a bit with this recent plant haul, although it was my birthday, so I did decide to treat myself. However, I hope you'll agree that some of the prices that I got the plants for were really good, so I didn't break the bank in doing so. That being said, I do need to go on a plant ban again now. I've got no more room for any other plants, and also I do need to make sure that I keep an eye on my bank balance. So let me know in the comments below if you are aware of what any of those mystery Philodendrons were, or even if you know of any directions to point me in and I can do further research to try and find out what they were, then let me know in the comments below. If you have found this video interesting, subscribe for more plant videos, usually every week, and if you would like to watch more, then check out the channel. There's loads of videos on the channel, from everything from pest control to plant care, as well as my previous video, which I'll link at the end, which is all about being greener with your houseplant collecting and plant care. So watch that next if you're interested. If you would like to ask any questions, then put them in the comments below and I'll respond to everyone. And as always, thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.